We'll appreciate your time. This is another big step in the UK's fight against COVID.
Anika, yes, it's great to be speaking with you this morning. And Matt Hancock shares that view there. He was saying today it's a pivotal moment in the UK's fight against the coronavirus. And as the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine gets rolled out, just last week it was approved by regulators here in the UK. And today, up and down the country, healthcare officials are injecting patients with it for the first time, not part of a clinical trial. And I mean, this vaccine is hopefully a tangible point to grasp as something that we can think of as being near the end or nearing the end, or as a way out of this pandemic. And for not just Brits, but people around the world, this vaccine only costs £2 a jab, and it doesn't need the industrial blast chilling freezers. So it's much more easy to roll out across populations around the world. And so it should be a level of hope. But in the UK, there isn't that level of hope here today because, as you were saying, this is the 7th consecutive day where new cases have been rising, and we are above 50,000 new cases per day for the past 7 days. And a grim milestone that is, but that's led the government to change their vaccination policy and their strategy into being, instead of vaccinating one dose and then 2 weeks later a second dose for people, they're going to give as many people the first dose as they can to achieve what they're calling the greatest majority of initial protection, and then give people follow-up vaccines as and when they can. It's something that the British Medical Association has criticised. And for Boris Johnson, he hoped that a speedy vaccination plan would be enough to prevent another national lockdown, but it's looking increasingly like this vaccination plan hasn't come soon enough for him.
It certainly seems the case. As you said, the UK is seeing some grim milestones at the moment. Will, we know that the Pfizer vaccine, as you said, was rolled out in December. Are people signing up to get the jab? What are the inoculation rates like?
At the moment, the people being vaccinated are those who are especially vulnerable, those with underlying healthcare conditions, or those who would end up in hospital were they to get COVID-19. And once those people are vaccinated, then the government are going to go on to vaccinate healthcare workers, and then over 80s, over 70s, and so on further down. So at the moment, the people who are being vaccinated are those who desperately need the vaccine. And so at the moment, the rate of people getting the vaccine has been fairly high and fairly good. But there are a number of people who are worried about getting the coronavirus vaccine, COVID deniers they are, and they protest in the streets and all over social media. But the majority of people in the UK are overwhelmingly excited at the opportunity to get their vaccine. And there's talks of the vaccination programme happening 24 hours a day. And I've been speaking to people who would be more than happy to show up to an empty football stadium at 3 a.m. in the morning to get the first part of their vaccine.
Well, that's good to hear, and hopefully provided some much-needed hope to the United Kingdom. Will, Boris Johnson is expected to speak in just under half an hour now, where he's supposedly rolling out tougher restrictions. What is expected?
That's right. Boris Johnson is going to address the UK from Downing Street this evening. These tougher restrictions we are expecting are something similar to what we faced here in March in the first wave of the pandemic, where the orders were to stay at home, work at home if you can, schools would close, and only leave your house for essential reasons, such as going to the supermarket. And it's expected that Boris Johnson is going to announce these restrictions to come in force from midnight tonight, with MPs voting retrospectively on these restrictions on Wednesday in the Houses of Parliament. And this is something that the leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, had been calling for the past few days, calling for tougher restrictions, where Boris Johnson was saying that school children should carry on going to school and people should carry on following the restrictions that were already in place. But it's looking like this is a drastic U-turn to what he had previously said on Sunday, and maybe this is members of his own party also calling for greater numbers of restrictions, and even the former Secretary of Healthcare here in the UK was calling for schools to close, for international travel to stop, and the UK to enter a national lockdown. And with Scotland entering lockdown today, it's looking like England will follow.